Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys so much for joining me for today's video. In it, I'm going to go over the epic Sunday night game between the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs, the final game and an awesome weekend for football. Today I'm going to talk about offensively, defensively, coaching, and special teams for both of these teams. I'm going to break down the game in detail, talk about some of those turning points that happened, and then give you my opinions on it. If you disagree with anything I'm talking about, drop that down below. I would love to be able to engage with you. It is why I do these videos. If you are new to the channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. Please consider liking and subscribing. Your support means the world to me and it helps me out so very much. It enables me to do what I love so I can keep bringing you guys the content that you love. With that done, let's get into this Relentless rundown. Based on how the first three games went in the divisional round, it was almost impossible to think that we could somehow end it better than it already had been. With just 9 points total separating the first three games, all ending as time expired, that thinking was justified. It turned out that the best was saved for last. You did not even need to be a fan of football to love this game. It had absolutely everything, including one of the wildest finishes you will ever see, and in overtime as the cherry on top. We knew going in a ton of points were gonna be scored, and we were not disappointed. The questions that I wanted answered to coming in for the Bills: how would their elite defense look after smothering and destroying the Patriots a week ago? We know that this Kansas City beast is a different animal, and Mahomes was going to test them a lot. As for the Chiefs, after their more or less bye week against the Steelers, how would they come into this game? They were destroyed by the Bills 38-20 back in week number 5. We'll start with the Bills from Buffalo and their offense. They came out on fire and they scored on their opening possession, converting 2 fourth downs to give Buffalo that 7-0 lead. They would finish the half with an excellent 2-minute, 75-yard drive to knot it up at 14 all. On that drive, Allen was calm and collected. He dissected the Chiefs at will. When called upon, he took back-to-back carries for 18 yards, getting out of bounds on each of them. It set up a beautiful 25-yard strike to Gabriel Davis, where Allen was pressured and threw the ball falling away. In the second half, Allen responded immediately after the Chiefs were able to pull away a little bit, hitting Gabriel for that second time on a laser strike and a 75-yard touchdown. The ball was 50 yards in the air on a rope, and it hit Davis in stride as he ran untouched into the end zone, taking the top off of that KC defense. It made the score 23-21 Chiefs. In crunch time, on the second to last possession for Buffalo, Josh Allen began to elevate to another level. He converted 3 third downs with his legs, the last one being one of the most clutch plays you will ever see. Allen was able to evade pressure in the pocket from 2 defenders before juking all-world talent Frank Clark out of his shoes to keep the drive alive. A few plays later, with 2 minutes to go and the game on the line, the Bills faced a 4th down and 13 from the Kansas City 27. Allen fired a dart into the end zone and hit a wide-open Gabriel Davis for his 3rd score of the game. On the route, Davis made a beautiful double move and embarrassed former Vikings first-round pick Mike Hughes, whose ankles got completely shredded on the play. The 2-point conversion was even prettier as Allen once again found Stephon Diggs in the back of the end zone as he evaded the pass rush, and he lasered it in to make it 26-29, Bills with the lead. Buffalo needed Allen one more time with a minute left in the game, and he incredibly was able to answer. He orchestrated a 75-yard drive that was highlighted by a 30-yard rocket to his favorite target of the night, Gabriel Davis. With 17 seconds left, Allen found Gabriel Davis one last time on a post route in the middle of the field, and it gave the Bills the lead back 36-33. It was a remarkable drive in impossible circumstances to cap off the best losing performance in NFL history. When we look at the overall scope, the Bills once again fell victim to their lack of an ability to move the ball on the ground if it wasn't Josh Allen toting the rock. Devin Singletary was held to just 26 yards on 10 carries. He finished with 51 total yards on 14 touches. Not that great. The running back position clearly needs to be looked at as they go into next year. Through the year, it was all about Gabriel Davis, who did his best Jamar Chase impression and finished with 201 yards and an eye-popping 4 scores, 2 of them in the game's final 2 minutes. He caught 8 balls and he averaged over 25 yards a catch. Stephon Diggs was nowhere to be found in this one. He finished with 7 yards on 3 catches, while getting completely shut out in the second half. The best thing that he did was pull coverage away from Davis so that he could feast. As usual, the star of the show and the do-it-all cog in the Buffalo machine was Josh Allen, who routinely broke away from pressure and made things happen both inside and outside the pocket. His combination of size, speed, athleticism, and that cannon for an arm are unmatched in this league. Allen was 27 for 37 for 329 yards and 4 scores, and he played with ice water in his veins, stepping up in every possible gotta-have-it situation. He finished this postseason with 12 incompletions and 9 touchdowns in 2 games. Pivoting to the Bills defense, and on the Chiefs' third possession, Buffalo made a huge mistake on 3rd down and goal from the 11 that cost them 4 points. Dane Jackson had help in coverage. However, he picked up a defensive hold nonetheless while Mahomes was getting sacked. The automatic 1st down would lead to a touchdown pass to Byron Pringle, and that gave the Chiefs a 14-7 lead. With 13:30 to go in the 4th quarter, the Bills' offense had run just 4 total plays due to a 3-and-out and a quick score to Davis. That certainly affected Buffalo's ability to slow down Kansas City. They were winded, to say the least, after being on the field for almost the entire 3rd quarter. On their heels, midway through the 4th quarter, Buffalo made the biggest stop of the game on a 3rd down and 1 trick play. Exhausted, they were able to read it and get the stop. They forced a field goal to keep it a 1-possession game at 26-21. It was an incredible team effort in a key moment as Coach Sean McDermott was seen running down the sideline and calling out the play prior to the snap. The Bills defense did, however, pay for it on that long catch and run to Tyreek Hill with under 2 minutes to go, and one final time in the most pathetic meltdown I've ever seen on a football field with under 15 seconds to go. First, you leave Tyreek Hill with 20 yards of real estate to work with, knowing that the Chiefs have timeouts to use. Then, you just refuse to cover the best tight end in the game over the middle of the field. What? To give up that tying score, words cannot do it justice. It's as if the Bills forgot how to play football in the most critical moment of their careers. I am flabbergasted and upset that we were robbed of Josh Allen's 3rd postseason game. I will say that it is hard to fully blame the Bills defense for falling apart as the game wore on, but at some point you just have to make a frickin' stop. Buffalo surrendered 552 yards of total offense to Kansas City, but the killer was losing that time of possession battle by over 9 minutes. They could not overcome that. They allowed the Chiefs to convert 8 out of 13 3rd downs and average over 6.5 yards per carry. They were consistently gashed for huge plays and had no response to the onslaught that the Chiefs brought to the table. Matt Milano and Tremaine Edmonds did their best to slow that offense down. They combined for 20 tackles, but the Bills had just a pair of sacks on the day as they failed to corral Mahomes. On to the coaching for Buffalo. Sean McDermott showed no fear and an ultra-aggressive attitude from the game's first drive. He went for it on 4th down and 2 from midfield. I have to admit that in the moment, I was not a big fan of that type of risk this early on in the game, but it paid off as they converted. It would lead to a 4th down and goal on the 1-yard line, which I was a proponent of going for, and I love the play call to utilize the threat of Allen keeping it on a dive before tossing it to Devin Singletary to open up the scoring. That wrinkle held the linebackers long enough for the speed to win to the outside. There was a special teams play in the fourth quarter against Buffalo that was extremely costly, and the Bills paid for it with nearly 50 yards of field position. A member of the kicking team went out of bounds on his own volition and negated an illegal block in the back on Kansas City. On the following return, Tyreek Hill was slippery and evasive, leaving defenders in his wake as he galloped all the way to the Buffalo 15. The Chiefs would have had the ball on their own 35-yard line had that infraction not been committed. Kansas City got 3 points out of the drive. The second boneheaded special teams play that probably went unnoticed by most people was in the waning moments of the game. Up 36-33 with 13 seconds to go, the Bills inexplicably decide to kick the ball deep and leave more time on the clock for Kansas City, not choosing to squib the ball. Sure, there was only 13 seconds left. Yes, the game should have been over. But why leave anything to chance when you do not have to? Buffalo could have taken at least 4 or 5 seconds off of the clock, and the Chiefs could have done absolutely nothing about it. It was an easy decision to make, and Tony Romo even mentioned it in the broadcast. If I am screaming at it, watching my television and saying the same thing, surely a professional coach can understand clock management and game situation, right? Apparently wrong. Very wrong. We all know what happened next. I cannot say enough how disappointed I am in Leslie Frazier. For all of the wonderful things that he did for this defense over the last few years, 13 seconds will forever change my view as him as a coach. Let me be clear. In my mind, he went from a potential head coaching candidate this offseason to a normal guy in street clothes. That is how egregious the defensive play calling was to end the game. He flat out no longer deserves a spot in the NFL, period. I cannot imagine other teams are going to want a coach who gives up 55 yards for free with a trip to the AFC Championship game on the line. If I am a part of the Buffalo Bills organization, I fire him without a second thought. There are no circumstances where the lack of communication and execution that we witnessed can be tolerated. None. Did Frazier forget that the game was 60 minutes long instead of 59 minutes and 47 seconds? Did he not know that the Chiefs had timeouts yet? What possible excuse could warrant such malpractice? You had this game because of the masterful, otherworldly performance from your young stud quarterback, and you squandered it by being a complete and utter idiot. The Bills shouldn't even have to fire the dude. He should just retire in shame. Now that I have that out of my system, let's move on to the Chiefs' offense. Patrick Mahomes' 35-yard scramble on 3rd down and 6 on their opening drive was absolutely magnificent, and he used his legs 4 times on that possession to give the Bills something else to worry about. The final time was a masterful 8-yard run after avoiding multiple defenders to dive and stretch for the pylon. It tied the game up at 7. They took a 17-14 lead to start the third on their second attempt to do so. Harrison Butker missed a 50-yarder hitting the right side of the upright as the first halftime expired before converting from 39 yards out. On their second possession of the second half, Mecole Hardman showcased incredible vision, body control, and speed as he stutter-stepped at the line of scrimmage before shooting himself out of a cannon down the sideline. As defenders closed in, he made a dive towards the end zone, hit the pylon, and extended the lead to 23-14. It would remain there as Harrison Butker felt that it was only right to give the left upright some love as well, missing his second kick of the game. With the Chiefs down 29-26 and under 2 minutes to go, the Chiefs got their first of 2 miracles. This one from Tyreek Hill, who took a slant 64 yards to the house, blowing by would-be tacklers and outrunning everyone to the end zone. Now on it, he did look at the Bills defenders inside the 10 and gave his patented peace sign, which somehow was not taunting. To me, there is no way that he gets away with that, especially with how the NFL is supposedly cracking down on that type of behavior. But it's the Chiefs, so no penalty was called. Am I better? No. Maybe. But there's no question that the call should have been made, and regardless, it was now 33-29 Chiefs with a minute to go. After the Chiefs' defense fell apart, they needed a second miracle to push this game into overtime. With plenty of help from the Bills, they got it. When they got the ball first in overtime, the finish was inevitable. The Chiefs methodically broke down Buffalo and then started gashing them for big plays from Hill, Kelce, and Hardman. Travis Kelce ended it with a post route to the corner where he beat linebacker Matt Milano, and Mahomes lofted a perfect pass over the top to steal the game. Clyde Edwards-Elaire was the spark plug that the Chiefs were hoping for when they drafted him in the first round a couple of years ago. He took a few big runs for large gains and helped open up the field even more for Mahomes. He had 60 yards on the ground, averaging nearly 9 yards per carry. Jerick McKinnon, on the other hand, out-touched him, but was far less effective. He had just 24 yards on his 10 carries. But the combination of them brought some balance to the offense, and they certainly kept that Bills defense reeling. Tyreek Hill put on a show and made one of the biggest plays of the day with his score during the Chiefs' 2-minute drill. He finished with 150 yards on 11 catches. He was impossible to bring down with a single defender. Travis Kelce nearly hit the 100-yard barrier himself. He came 4 yards shy while hauling in 8 of his 9 targets. His game-winning touchdown will go down in Chiefs history if they can get back to the Super Bowl and finish the job. He was a pain to deal with between the hash marks and was always there for Mahomes whenever he was in trouble or was facing pressure. There were multiple times throughout this game where Mahomes made what seemed like impossible throws with insane arm angles. He was a magician, maneuvering the pocket and contorting his body and arm to deliver strikes to his receivers. Patrick Mahomes spread the ball around well, and 4 different receivers caught at least 5 balls, with 3 different pass catchers scoring touchdowns. He added 69 yards on the ground, and he made a statement with that opening drive rushing score. I believe it greatly impacted the rest of the game on defense for Buffalo. Pivoting to the other side of the ball for Kansas City, the Chiefs were a bit unlucky on the Bills' second drive of the game as they got to Josh Allen from behind. Melvin Ingram was the man. He forced a fumble at midfield on 3rd down. The ball hit a Chiefs defender who was coming in for the tackle, and it fell right back into the waiting lap of Josh Allen. It forced the Bills' first punt in over 4 quarters, as Buffalo never had to do that against the Patriots. Kansas City was able to hang in, and they stopped the ground game outside of Josh Allen, but that's about as positive as it gets on that side of the ball. Sure, they held Stephon Diggs to just 7 yards on 3 catches, basically making him a decoy, but that meant that they were torched elsewhere consistently, and they did not seem to realize that Gabriel Davis actually had to be covered too. The Chiefs did not have an answer for Allen on the ground or through the air, but it is hard to blame them too much. He was just better. Daniel Sorensen, L'Jarius Sneed each had 9 tackles, and they did their best in the secondary, while Melvin Ingram, Frank Clark, and Chris Jones did what they could to keep Allen in check. The Chiefs had just 2 sacks and 2 total quarterback hits. On to the coaching section for Kansas City, and the Chiefs showed some guts of their own on their first possession of the second half, going for a 4th down and 1 from the Bills' 40-yard line. I thought it was a pretty obvious call with their offense and the way that they were playing, but the play action call that they used was simply incredible. It used the Bills' own speed against them. Jerick McKinnon picked up 20 yards as Kansas City converted. On the flip side, one of the worst calls of the game came with 10 minutes to go in the 4th quarter. On 3rd down and 1 from the Bills' 6-yard line, the Chiefs tried to get flashy, and it blew up in their face. Patrick Mahomes motioned out wide, and little-used tight end Blake Bell took the snap, and he pitched out wide to Jerick McKinnon. The Bills were ready, and the play lost 3 yards, denying an easy decision to go for it on 4th down in the process. The Chiefs would end up settling for 3 points, squandering a drive that started at Buffalo's 15-yard line. This is the type of play that you praise when it succeeds, and you absolutely hate it when it fails. But for me, really, you just question it because they took the ball out of the hands of Patrick Mahomes, who was looking unstoppable for almost the entire game. In this type of critical situation, the ball and the decision needs to be his. I just do not understand how it wasn't. Before I close it out here today, I want to state that I believe that the overtime rules are outdated. They need to be adjusted in some way, shape, or form. That is not because the Bills lost this game, but because teams that win the toss in the playoffs are 10-1 when they do. That is by no way, shape, or form fair, and it stole an even better ending to the game away from us. Josh Allen deserved another chance here, and America deserves a better system. I am not going to pretend like I have the answers that fix it, but it is pretty clear and obvious that something needs to be done. That being said, we were treated to one of the best games that I have ever witnessed. There were fireworks from the beginning all the way to the end, and it featured two of the game's best quarterbacks in action playing at their best. Mahomes and Allen combined for 707 yards through the air, 137 on the ground, 8 total touchdowns, and no picks. They each had a QBR over 90 while averaging over 8.5 yards per completion. In a word, they were special. The Bills-Chiefs rivalry is just getting started, and these two teams are going to do battle for years to come. We can only hope to be witnesses to more games in this stratosphere down the line. Buffalo goes into the offseason once again falling just short, and I really feel for Bills fans with how it came to be. They are going to be back, but this one stings, and it likely will for a long, long time. I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan. Trust me, I get it. The Chiefs move on to their 4th consecutive AFC Championship game, a fantastic accomplishment. And they have to face a team now that just beat them over a month ago in Cincinnati. There is clearly something special going on with this Kansas City team to be able to pull out a win like this, and I do not believe even Joe Burrow's confidence and swagger is going to be enough to overcome the Chief juggernaut. I am taking the Chiefs to represent the AFC. They win it 37-30 over the Bengals. And that'll do it for me in this Relentless rundown. I really hope you enjoyed today's content. You learned something as well. If you disagree with any of my takes, please drop your comments down below. I want to be able to engage with you. That is what this is all about. If you are new to the channel, if you haven't done it yet for whatever reason, or if you are enjoying the content, please consider giving me a like and a subscribe. It means so very much to me. It helps me out a ton. This is Relentless Press. I'm your host, Abraham Opatz, and we'll see you next time.